Welcome to this update of Xenoblade Chronicles. I hate this update, I hate the area we're about to go in, and I hated making this video. And as you can tell by the big gap between them, I also hated commentating on it. The next area we're about to go in is pretty much the antithesis of the area we're in now, where it's all cool and open and interesting and kind of unexpected place to be. The area we're about to go in is pretty much entirely repetitively designed, tightly packed padding. This 20-minute update is, oh no, it's only 13 minutes, I cut loads of it out. It's nearly 2 hours of me running around, and it really was not worth it. It just wasn't at all. But enjoy watching it, I'm sure you'll have more fun than I did. It would be impossible not to.
Bionis and Mechonis.
Oh, it's so different, seeing them from this kind of perspective.
We cannot see it from here, but our people are still fighting up there.
It's difficult to believe that two such huge things ever fought each other. I wonder how the Machina felt at the time.
Must have been horrible.
Scary too.
Fear robs us of reason. Out of fear, we commit terrible atrocities, and call them acts of self-preservation.
Fear gives rise to more fear. A never-ending circle of hatred.
Perhaps that circle can be broken.
Fear. It must be what's driving this. What's made Egil act this way.
Oh.
As I alluded to in a very early update, whilst staring across the sea at the Mechonis, if you can see something in this, you can go there, and we are indeed about to climb onto the Mechonis. I originally said mount the Mechonis, but that has a whole different connotation.
We're inside the Mechonis.
Just how I imagined it. It's all totally mechanical. It ain't gonna be easy getting up this thing.
Egil is at the top.
I'm not sure how we came to the conclusion that Egil's at the top. If I was a maniacal leader, and I had my headquarters in a giant Titanic robot, I'd probably put my secret base somewhere people were unlikely to look. The spleen. Who would ever look for a maniacal leader in the spleen?
What's up, Shulk?
Look, it's a switch to activate a lift. If we can get it to work, it should take us up.
Ricky want to ride lift?
We can't. There's no power going to it.
Boring!
What do we do?
Well, if we could find the main power supply...
Okay, people, let's get looking.
Yeah. If we can connect the power to the switch, we should be able to use the lift.
Okay, wow, I know I said I hated making this update, but I didn't realise that I hated it so much that I actually gave up on any form of viable editing. I don't think it gets much better than that in this update, but then neither does the content of the area we're running around, so I feel like I've given the game what it deserves here. It really is a case of what would otherwise be a series of perfectly linear pathways with nothing interesting or unique to look at, that they've just made... Oh wow. Wow. Yeah, this is... I do apologise for the quality of the editing here, but I don't care enough to redo it. Yeah, so otherwise it was perfectly linear, and there's nothing interesting or unique to look through as you go here. So they just in a set of arbitrary switches that you have to find and twirl around to progress. There's lots of stuff you can fall off or get hit off by enemies. There's lots of areas where you can get lost, if, like me, you can't read maps. There's random uniques and areas where enemies get called in, basically summoned in. And I feel like originally this bit was a lot more direct, and then they went back after a while and said, no, we need to make a few more areas a bit longer, and they just decided here to put in a convoluted copy and pasted mess. I've cut out a hell of a lot of fighting, falling off things, retrying unique fights. There's a unique we need to beat later on because they're in front of the switch. But killing them, you might not necessarily turn up at the right level, and if you fail to kill them and have to start again from the checkpoint, everything between you and it has respawned, and it's not a short journey. And a couple of times of doing that, it does get really dull. You may have noticed I've put Sharla in our party. She is dressed like a bird of paradise. One good thing about this video that I did notice, in that cutscene everyone was dressed. So, you know, fully dressed swings and shittily edited roundabouts, okay? But now we have Sharla in here. This is because coming up we will have a section of the game that there's a small arc centering on her, and some fights that will have her in. And the first time I played the game, this was a shot, because she was a bit crap. I hadn't gotten to know her abilities. I hadn't built up her affinity for any of the other characters, so I couldn't chain attack very well. I couldn't share abilities with her and so on. And it was a real shock out of nowhere, because up until that point there hadn't been a focused bit where you had to have someone in your party. There is another fight much later on where you do need to have another party member in your group for any chance of doing it. And that's also another one that really comes out of nowhere and you don't get very much warning, but luckily it's with a character I'd already used a lot. Whereas the fight with Sharla just completely blindsided me and took me a very long time to do, because she had no synergy with any of the groups I tried to put together. And I didn't have her skills leveled up, because to level up skills past a certain point you need to either purchase or find books that unlock the next levels of skills. I didn't have good kit for her, so I had to run around finding places that sold good kit. It was a nightmare. I guess as a part of the game they put in, because maybe they expected some people to shelf Sharla early on because of the DPS healing trade-off not being very good at the beginning. but now she has finally reached the point where she has a decent set of damage dealing skills, and she does have a red talent art, which is very important in setting up chain attacks. We can now actually do that with her and go around more than once because she's not going to break it every time. She's also got ether attacks and a couple of pink attacks to break things. It's not just a case of healing or crap damage anymore. It was kind of unexpected though. I never re-looked at Charlotte on my first playthrough until I had to. Because there was no signposting that she'd ever have anything other than a variety of healing or support abilities. It was quite unexpected, and I find her character in cutscenes kind of not great, really. I find her a bit annoying. I don't like the way it's written between her and Ryan, although her interactions with Ryan are written that way on purpose, and their relationship develops very well across the rest of the game, but the way she treats him is still, I find her unlikable as a character. She also has the world's most annoying brother, and I don't know how long her parents have been dead, but I still hold her personally at least partially responsible for that. And of course there is the fact that she is just massive boob window no matter what she's wearing or what situation you're in, and I do find that off-putting. Especially since, with one exception with Fiora that you may end up seeing later on, there is one outfit you can put on Fiora that is basically just Titageddon. The other female characters in this and the outfits are all quite good, and I just found Charlotte off-putting and unnecessary to have in a party, so just never ever looked at her again. I wish they'd given you a bit more subtle of a poke to try her out again, or that she'd be capable of something different later on. This is the unique fight I was talking about when I said there would be one that we would have to take on and couldn't just sneak around. There's a couple I have just snuck around because they're quite high level and kept punting me off things, but this one you do have to do, and it is, despite being necessary to get to the switch, it is exactly like every other unique fight. It's a lot harder than its non-unique contemporaries. You need to either be the same level if you're just taking on it, or because we've also killed a large group of mechons with it, I have turned up a couple of levels higher to finally get it done, just so we can press this switch and do more padding.